During a family dinner, my father leaned over to me and asked, "Tell me, what did you do with the $200,000 I gave you?" I was stunned and said, $200,000? What do you mean? My sister's face turned pale. The police arrived 30 minutes later. The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and garlic bread, the kind of meal my mother always prepared when she wanted to keep the peace. The table was set perfectly, polished cutlery, folded napkins, crystal glasses catching the chandelier's glow. But that night, peace was nowhere to be found. I sat between my sister, Claire, and her husband, Daniel, quietly eating while half listening to my brother brag about his new car. My parents smiled and nodded, acting proud, as though their world was perfectly intact. And then, out of nowhere, my father leaned across the table. His voice was low, but sharp enough to slice through the laughter. "Tell me," he said. His eyes locked on me, cold and steady. "What did you do with the $200,000 I gave you?" The sound of silverware froze. Claire's fork clinked against her plate. My brother-in-law's jaw went slack. Even my mother stiffened. I blinked, stunned. My fork hovered midair as my heart stuttered. $200,000, I repeated, my voice louder than I intended. "What do you mean?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. That was when I noticed Claire. She froze, her wine glass trembling in her hand. When she set it down too quickly, deep red liquid spilled across the pristine white tablecloth, a stain spreading like a wound. Her face was pale, too pale. My mother frowned, her eyes narrowing. "You mean you don't remember?" "I don't remember because it never happened," I said firmly. "I never asked you for any money. And you definitely never gave me $200,000. But my father didn't blink. His jaw tightened, the lines on his face deepening. "Don't play games with me. Last month, you came to me saying you needed help with a business venture. You insisted it had to be discreet. I wired the money to your account." The words hit me like a brick. My mind reeled, struggling to process. A business venture. Discreet? That didn't sound like me at all. The room went silent, but all at once I felt the air shift. Everyone's eyes moved, slowly toward Claire. Her complexion was ghostly now, her posture rigid. Her fingers twisted the napkin in her lap until it nearly tore. She wouldn't look at me, and suddenly the pieces started to fall into place. "Dad," I said slowly, leaning forward, my voice steady, even as anger burned in my chest. "Are you sure it was me who asked?" My father's brow furrowed. He searched my face, doubt creeping in for the first time. You sent me a message from your number. You told me not to tell anyone." I swallowed hard. My hands curled into fists under the table. If it wasn't me, then who? Claire shifted beside me, her hand trembling as she dabbed at the wine stain with a napkin. Her eyes still refused to meet mine, and that was all the confirmation I needed. My chest tightened, my voice came out low and sharp. "You didn't give that money to me," I said, staring at her now. "You gave it to her." The table erupted in gasps. My father's eyes widened. My mother's hand flew to her mouth, and Daniel stared at his wife, like he didn't recognize her. Claire's head snapped up, her lips parting as though to deny it, but nothing came out, just silence. And then, before she could even speak, a loud, heavy knock rattled the front door. We all jumped. 30 minutes later, our cozy dining room was swarming with police officers. Their radios crackled. Their boots thudded against the polished wooden floor. The officer in charge held up a folder, his face grim. "We have reason to believe this $200,000 is connected to a fraud investigation," he said, "and it leads right back to this house. I turned slowly to my sister. Her face wasn't pale anymore. It was grey. And for the first time in my life, Claire looked truly terrified. The police began asking questions, moving around the dining room, like sharks circling prey. Their presence felt suffocating, their heavy boots scuffing against the polished hardwood, their radios crackling with static. The once warm, cozy home now felt like a crime scene. My father's hands trembled as he tried to explain how he had wired the money. His voice cracked, betraying his age and the weight of his mistake. I transferred it myself. He came to me, my son. He said he needed me. Sir, the officer replied firmly. We'll need exact details. Bank statements, the date of transfer, and any messages exchanged. My father nodded weakly, his face flushed with shame. Meanwhile, my mother clutched her pearls so tightly, her knuckles turned white. She muttered prayers under her breath, rocking slightly in her chair, as though she could will this nightmare away. But my eyes stayed locked on Claire. She sat rigid, arms folded across her chest like a barrier. Her jaw was clenched, her gaze defiant, but her composure was crumbling. Every word of denial that slipped from her lips was laced with cracks. Ma'am, one of the officers finally said, his tone sharp. We traced the transfer to an account under your name. Care to explain? The silence that followed was suffocating. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, each second louder than the last. Claire's shoulders finally sagged, as though the weight of her secret had crushed her. Her lips trembled before she spoke, this time without the steel edge she usually carried. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she whispered. The entire table erupted at once. My father's face turned crimson as he slammed his fist against the wooden table so hard the glasses rattled. You stole from me, from your own family. His voice cracked with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. Tears welled in Claire's eyes. I didn't steal it. I was desperate. The officer leaned in, his notebook open, pen poised. Desperate for what? Claire's voice broke as the words spilled out. I owed someone. A man. He said if I didn't pay him back, he'd ruin me. And all of you. A chill ran down my spine. The air in the room thickened, pressing against my chest. What man? I asked, my voice low, steady. Though my pulse thundered in my ears, she hesitated, her lips quivering before finally uttering a name that made my stomach twist. A local loan shark. A man everyone in town whispered about. A man whose reputation was built on threats, broken lives, and debts that could never be repaid. The officer exchanged a grave look with his partner. He's already under investigation, he said flatly. This information will help us build the case. My father's face, contorted with a mix of rage and betrayal, his entire body shook. Not from age, but from the sheer force of his fury. My mother sobbed quietly, rocking harder, as though she could rock herself into another reality. But I felt something different. Beneath my anger, there was a deep ache. For all her mistakes, Claire was still my sister, the girl I grew up with, the one who once braided flowers into my hair when we were children. And yet, the girl sitting before me now was a stranger. But then came the twist that sealed her fate. The officer placed another document on the table, sliding it across the stained tablecloth. His eyes never left hers. There's more. The message your father received. It wasn't sent from his son's number. It was spoofed. We traced the origin. Claire, his voice hardened. You didn't just owe money. You participated in a larger fraud scheme. Claire gasped, recoiling as though she'd been slapped. No, I didn't know, she cried, shaking her head violently. I thought I thought I was just buying time. But it was too late. The evidence was stacked against her. As the police cuffed her, Claire broke. Her body shook with sobs. Her face wet with tears. Her cries filling the room. My mother wailed, clutching her chest, as if her heart might give out. My father buried his face in his hands, his shoulders hunched with a grief I had never seen in him before. I just sat frozen, staring at the sister I no longer recognized. My mind was a storm. How long had she been living this double life? How many lies had she told, while we all believed she was the golden child? All my life, I had been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. I was the black sheep, the one who never seemed good enough. But now the truth was laid bare. Claire, the perfect daughter, the pride of the family, was the one who had deceived them all. As they led her toward the door, she turned back, her eyes locked on mine. They weren't filled with anger or even shame. They were pleading, desperate. But I couldn't save her. Not this time. The house felt colder once she was gone. I stood slowly, walked to my father, and placed a hand on his trembling shoulder. My voice was quiet but steady. You asked me what I did with the $200,000, I said. Now you know, I never had it. And maybe now, you'll finally see me for who I really am. The irony cut deep. For years I had been accused of being the weak one, the disappointment, the outsider. But it wasn't me who had betrayed them. It was the one they trusted the most. And as the flashing red and blue lights disappeared down the street, I knew with absolute certainty our family would never be the same again.